Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks again so much for tuning in. I am Simmer Chase. Today's episode number 21 of our speed builds. This one's the Torrington house. It's a Sears Kit House, part of our historic series. So I'm so grateful for you guys tuning in. Thanks again so much. This is a kind of a unique house too. I actually had to go and build this retaining wall that held up the ground for the house. So I went ahead and did that off camera because it was just really tedious and kind of goofy. And it was kind of some trial and error there to get it done. So yes, we have that. And then also the dormers, that kind of stuff, kind of tricky to build in for The Sims. So I did some cutting on that too, you'll notice. But I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks again so much for tuning in. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe in the links below. And this episode is a really fun one too, because it's open floor plan. I went Simsified like crazy on the landscaping, which was against the rendering, but I really wanted to make it true to the design of the house, not necessarily the yard. So I really appreciate you guys giving me some good feedback about the landscaping too. I really want to be known for that. So I really appreciate it. Thanks again. And yeah, so without any further ado, stay proud, go out and do something magical. And let's go ahead and dive in now. So the Torrington house, it was really fun to build. I really enjoyed building this one. You're gonna see a lot of the design idea kind of stay the same through the build that I've kind of created here, but with kind of me minimizing, maximizing, looking at the rendering, coming back to the game and looking at it again. I make some changes here and there to just kind of make sure that it tries to stay true to the rendering as much as possible, but then I did kind of simplify it there at the end as well, because I really like to do the landscaping. I like to make it really zhuzhed up in the front. And in the renderings that they had back in the day, they were kind of fathoming, just a few little things here and there that you would have in your yard, maybe. And it was all very speculative. So, I really want to make sure that this looks more like an established house since it is from the 1900s. So that's kind of why you're seeing more like landscaping than what's in the renderings. If you look online and search Torrington, you'll definitely see very close similarities in the design. But I did have to simplify it a little bit just because we don't have any historic windows, and I don't really like to do the custom content any more than any person that plays with just the regular pack stuff, because I want to make sure that when I put my stuff up on the gallery, people can download it without having to risk getting some virus or some slowness to their machine because they've got 80 of these one lamps or windows that has to load outside of the game kind of capabilities. So it's kind of tasking if you start caping on a lot of that. So I try and just build things from the actual game itself. So I had to make a little bit of changes here and there to the design idea as I went along, just to kind of accommodate the game, but then also the rendering and kind of mesh the two. So that's always a fun challenge to try and see if you can do that, and get as close as you can. So I kind of really amped up the landscaping. You don't really see a lot of landscaping, with all the speculative design ideas. They're just hey, this might be, or it might not be. And maybe someday, they'll have some sort of landscaping, they don't even know. They're just trying to sell you the house back in, the early 1900s. So I was okay, well, I can just, kind of zhuzh it up a little bit more like I usually do, because I really want to make sure that it feels good and established feeling. So now you're kind of seeing the exterior really start to unfold, and in the way that I really wanted to make sure it was represented. So in the design, I actually ended up putting the mailbox. I just tuck it in there on the left side. So that's one way to know if you have the most current version of this build, is if you see the mailbox on the front left of the entryway, or the walkway up. So I really tried to make sure that that was as close and true as possible. Now they probably didn't have like a giant grand staircase. I was looking at the floor plan and design, and it just kind of had, you know, the traditional wraparound thing around another room. It was like the bathroom and stuff, and it was kind of tucked in behind the nook that we have. So right there where that nook is in that bathroom, right there was where they would have had the stairs. But I'm like, no, I want to make a bigger nook, and I can, you know, blow out some of the entryway space that would have went wasted with some furniture, and just popped in the dual staircase that way. Now I wish we could get rid of that center bar there, and I have been told by other folks that, well, why don't you just get rid of all the railings? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you could, but then it's like, safety risk, you know what I mean? So you don't really want to, if you want to make it as realistic as possible, you definitely don't want to eliminate all of your railings and guards. So like towards the end, I had realized that, you know, I'd kind of missed that too with the guards. So I did pop those in around the stairs too. And if you make like any of that section like its own room, it's handy because since there's not another staircase over it blocking some sort of like room designation, then you can kind of create that as like its own little room, then delete the floor. So then you have like a really nice open stairwell, and you'll see that kind of happen here as well. So now I'm just kind of, you know, zhuzhing up the landscape as I've kind of been known to do. And I really wanted to kind of hide the imperfections of the terrain as well, because, you know, it slopes down really, really hard into the side of all of the retaining walls, that kind of stuff, which isn't really real. It doesn't really look real. So I'm like, I can just plant a ton of things around that to fill it and make it seem like it's, you know, not having that problem, but it is raised still, you know, so it's a really nice raised, you know, terrain area. And like one of my first I've ever done, honestly, because it's a tricky piece. It's not the way I would have designed the train tool at all. I like Planet coasters much better. I like the ability to be able to just flatten a lot simpler and make it where you can flatten to the wall. Like you can pick maybe a wall or a half wall or a railing even, like in this case, to do raised flower beds and just be able to smooth it right to that. But instead it was like trying to get it to smooth to a whole mess of other things. And then I still want to be able to smooth like on this one tile, and then the other tile I want it to just be flat and like default. And unfortunately what was happening was then once I got to the side there too much, then everything was just raising. Like the side of the lot was raising and the retaining wall was raising and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh, this isn't gonna fly. So yeah. So now I'm getting together the kitchen and just really filling that out. And in this plan, actually this side of the house would have been a garage. And I'm like, oh no, again, waste of space. Like cars were just kind of becoming a thing back then. So was really novel and really like a unique feature to be able to offer a garage, especially interior garage. So like, you know, back in the day, people didn't want that sort of mess within their house. So you didn't have any attached garage because you would have a horse over there. So, you know, it'd be a barn, and then it became like your carriage house, but it still was not attached to your house. So this plan is probably one of the first I've ever seen from way back in the day that allowed for a garage. And I'm like, no, this could just be a giant kitchen, and we could have a really neat open floor plan like usual. So that's what I went with on this one. And then I'm just kind of coming through and getting all of my kind of design together for the floor plan, because I really did want to have like a private office, because it had sort of a room like that on the rendering. And there was like one bedroom on the ground floor, and I thought that'd be fun for like parents or like the butler quarters, depending on like how you want to decorate it and size it. There's plenty of space there to kind of play with, and you guys can definitely take and do whatever you want with these, but I just want to make sure that you guys have something to really kind of appreciate for the historical perspective, and so you can just go and do whatever you want with it at that point, because it's just kind of neat to be able to just build it, but then kind of go and like renovate it as well too if you want. because I'm sure like everybody has their own tastes and stuff, and that's what's really neat about the community, is that we can all like have our own ideas, and there's never like a wrong way really, as long as you make sure to get a toilet and a sink and like a stove and let's see here, a bed, I guess. Then you're doing pretty good. So now I'm coming through and getting I really like that recessed window, or that bay window. It's just really fun, like, to be able to actually build that. Now I wish, again, that we could just raise walls like independently, because it'd be really neat to be able to have the chance to build like half walls mid-level, so you could do like cantilever additions and bump outs that are like mid-floor, and then like have the ground still exposed, because like my house, I have like first floor like cantilever additions, or what we call bump outs, and they don't have a foundation under them, you know, it's just there willy-nilly, like hanging off the house in real life. And so it'd be neat to be able to have that in The Sims, definitely. And I think this would have been a little more realistic had I had the window options, and then kind of to be able to make that bay window, you know, the actual bay window. But we don't have any bay windows that are that large, and then if you try and resize them, then you end up with giant holes where there's nothing. So it's like, okay, cool, fine. So sometimes it's just, you know, you just have to kind of have some patience with it. And I wanted to have like a little awning in front of that, but then again, nothing sort of worked out on that. So I was just like, I've got a better idea. So I just kind of decorated some of the other areas a little bit more, because it's always about trying to add that little extra bit of touch. Like with the umbrellas, that kind of stuff, just some extra detail that make it even a little bit more useful. Oh, and then I was like, oh, I definitely can't forget my laundry room, or accommodating for my laundry room. So that's in there as well. And getting those in. And then we have a lot of like just landscaping stuff. I really was focusing heavily on the landscaping on this, because it just felt like that kind of house, and I had the extra lot space, and I just didn't want the house to just feel lonely. And I thought that it would be a lot better on the gallery too. You know, people definitely really care about the curb appeal. I really noticed that a lot, especially people that are just looking for turnkey and don't want to actually mess with the house. So I really love being able to kind of build for those folks as well. So it's got everything in it that you would need to be able to get going. And then just all the, you know, things, different stuff for each of the bathrooms, kind of getting the detail together on that. And I really love doing the framed art as much as I can, wherever I can. Sometimes it's a little silly, because like I just look at it and I'm like, oh wait, I kind of went hog wild on that, and then take a piece or two back. But usually it's just kind of, you know, going with it as the build comes together, and then I kind of see the colors that I've chosen and from the other objects, and then I kind of place art around that so that I can get some more colors and patterns and things like that in on the walls. Which is sometimes why I even wait to paint the wall until towards the end too. For me, it's just kind of all about the system. And then this part here, I know it's kind of dark right now, but in a second you'll see it light up, but it's all of the furniture and different things for this dual office. I really wanted to just have a giant office in here and really utilize the space for, like, to get away from everybody and to just kind of work or whatever you need to do. So there's like a good TV, all kinds of fun stuff. Cool. See, so now it's like a lot more lighting in now. And I'm coming around at the fronts and sides just to kind of get more decor stuff in, getting my pool finished up. And then I had to go through and I kind of cleaned the lights up, but I really wanted like a bright, glowing pool almost. So it's just really funky and bright and kind of unexpected element. And then I saw that bookcase, I was like, no, but it needs to be downstairs. I know the perfect place for it, so put that in. And then just getting in a lot more art, decor, and then kind of our plants, and then the dressers, you know, and just kind of the final fixings for the bedrooms. And then I kind of go out and do the common space a little bit, and I'll kind of hop around here and there on a few of the different pieces and rooms, just to make sure that there's the extra detail there. Cool, so now more rugs, and then I'm just kind of noticing more lighting options and things like that. And I really like being able to use that light there, but the thing is it bugs me a little bit because the way that it's positioned on the axis is weird, so I want it to be like where the two big pieces are facing towards the door, so when you walk in, that's not in your face and your eyes, it's just like underneath you, because you walk in and it's like above you, and instead it's like flipped, so I always end up flipping it with the Alt key and then holding my cursor and kind of spinning it around there, so that's what you saw just a moment ago. And so now I'm just kind of coming upstairs, getting the attic space really repurposed and set up for a lot more uses. There's some fitness equipment gonna go up in here, more bathrooms, bedrooms, all that kind of stuff. Just a lot more than kind of what was designed before, but I just think it's a little more useful at this point for like modern living. So you have, you know, your laundry, all the laundry space you need. I made this one an extra bigger laundry room because I really want to have some storage too here and there. And this one, because since it's big, it's like silly if it doesn't have a lot of storage options. So I did make sure to drop in like a couple closets and a few other things that I think will kind of make you a little happy, hopefully. Should be fun. So just coming together with all the lighting, plumbing, fixture stuff at this point. And second, you'll see these come together too. I really like being able to mix and match some of the counters with the sinks. Really gives you more options. And sometimes it's a little bit of a trial and error too, but it's definitely worth doing and kind of trying out when you can. Cool. Now I'm going through and I really like being able to use like just a lot of different tile patterns and things like that when they work, because sometimes if the rooms are odd size, then those tile patterns might not end or begin properly, and then they just look funky. So I definitely go with kind of that design of just popping them in if the room's more linear, or if it's got like an even amount of tiles, so like 2 or 4 kind of thing, 6, 8, that kind of stuff. And then like going long ways, like making sure again it's kind of the same pattern, 2, 4, 6, because otherwise they'll just look kind of weird and you'll be like, oh, this isn't the pattern I thought it was. So now I'm coming up, kind of getting the bedrooms together, the last of the bedrooms, getting all of our decor stuff kind of popped in the common area and the hallway. And I really had a challenge trying to get through these kind of areas and being able to get them decorated, like their walls and stuff decorated, because of just like the size and where they were within the dormer, because the Sims and dormers don't really mix that well when it comes to decorating. So a lot of times I end up just deleting out the whole ceiling and roof and everything and just not even worrying about that level. But with this one, I didn't really have the option because it was only 2 levels. Generally, I'll do 3 if I'm doing like this kind of style. So it was a little bit of a challenge for me, and I was like, oh, I can definitely take this on. So these rooms that are in like the dormer, like the main one that actually has the full ceiling height, is handy, and that one's easy to do, and it was fun. But then the ones on the ends were kind of tricky, and so it took a little bit of time and significant amount of editing to the video, because I was like, oh yeah, here the roof's kind of like going the wrong way, hiding too many things, over and over. And I was having like to kind of move my mouse a ton, and I was like, this is like way too dizzying. I was like, so I cut a lot of kind of my struggles of trying to get the camera to like get just right to where I could, you know, get to just the right spot on the wall to hang up just the right piece of artwork. So it did take some effort there on that one. So that's why I already got episode 22 done and out the door, as I'm getting 21 finally together, because I just was getting kind of a little frustrated there with the camera. And then also like the landscaping, like beginning part of the landscaping, that took me a good minute. So I was like, I'm gonna go to pivot to a different one and then come back to this one. So that's why they're out of order, if you're curious. So this room, a couple of them, I decided to go kind of a different direction towards the end, and was like, oh my gosh, this room would be more fun as like a kid's room or a young teen room, or, you know, like somebody, like even a toddler. Like you could do so many different things with those rooms because they're just the right size for like smaller beds, that kind of thing. The kids' toys, like fun little decals and wall pieces. It's just so fun. I love that kind of content. I feel like we have a lot of that kind of content. I just wish we had a comparable amount of windows, because like the rendering on this one, it had like, there's skinnier, more rectangles instead of just squares. So it's like trying to match that is like impossible. And I could try and cobble something together by like using a bunch of build by like sticks or something, but that kind of inflates the size of the build and size, like the file size. And then it's also frustrating because then it's like buggy sometimes and doesn't quite look correct. And I'm like, you know, I just really need more windows. Be awesome. So now I'm getting kind of our grand stairwell, like that part lit up. Getting the last of our framed art, of course, put up. And then this was kind of what I was telling you guys a minute ago, was like some of it was just kind of a little tricky to get that together. And then that dormer over there on that side, for some reason, kept like giving me struggle. So I ended up having to make it like a little nook thing to be able to keep it from having the roof not cut off, or to have it cut off, because it kept like going into that room. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, whatever. So I ended up just, you know, creating a doorway right there instead to give it that feel. Because I guess that somehow isn't I think it's the way that the house like forms down. It may not end up being like the actual size. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'm so grateful for you watching. And here's the rest of the kind of the graphics that I put together and some of our progress. So thanks again so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great day and stay proud. Go out and do something magical.